Okay, so I should have recorded commentary, but I don't know how. But basically what happened there was, first I used conflagurate on a decent mob, then I used break the spirit on that mob, then I used divine glow to empower my javelin, and then I used my staff of flowers, which that's my main artifact. It does, I think, is one of the higher damage artifacts. It's nice. It slows your mobs, it gives you power, crit, and it lasts for 15 seconds. Anyway, so yeah, I used my staff of flowers, then I used searing javelin on all the mobs, and then I just kind of went back and forth between powers. I did get sudden verdict at one point, and I straight away pressed tab to convert that to more divinity, and then I just used more searing javelins. So again here, we're going to go up to the big mob, we're going to use conflagurate, break spirit. Sometimes I wait, as you saw there, before I use divine glow, just in case I do get sudden verdict, because it takes me a minute to register. There's a piercing javelin, so that's a guaranteed crit, and I died. But yeah, that's the basis of the AoE rotation. Let's go into a single target area, because I forgot to do single target in the last video. Actually, I'll go to Lair of Lost Mouth, because they have big mobs right at the start. And so for single target, I use Break the Spirit, Forge Master's Flame, and Geese. I use Geese because it's got the added effect that it decreases the target's damage, which will proc Doomslayer. So it keeps Doomslayer active a lot more of the time compared to another rotation that other clerics use. And I fully empower everything with single target. Another thing I'll quickly take note of is for mount powers, Bat Swarm is best for single target as a DPS. I usually use the Arcane Maelstrom if I'm in any AoE scenario. I'll just swap it back and forth between bosses when I feel like it. If I'm going full single target, usually I'll use the Blast Scepter over the staff. It just depends what the party's using, otherwise I might use knives. It just matters for what debuffs the party needs. But if I'm just going, say, solo, I want to start off, sometimes I'll use, see, it depends on the mob's HP. Sometimes I'll go either Lance or just go straight into Forge Flame, then Break Spirit, Forge, Geese, Forge, and repeat, always empowering them fully, or at least a few times. Like, if I've got one Radiant Judgment, I'll use a Conflagurate, that'll be 4, and then I'll just use either Geese or Break Spirit. What else do I do? Right after I use a fully empowered Forge, that's when I use my daily. Just because then I can just quickly empower a Geese, and then I might get a sudden verdict again. Whereas, because dailies don't give sudden verdict. So I'm going to go with fully empowered Break the Spirit. I use my Swarm, my artifact, empower a Forge Master's Flame, empower a daily, and then now I can use my Conflag and use another Break the Spirit, and Flame again, and then use Geese again, empower another Flame. Sometimes I have to wait for cooldowns, but it's not really that often, and it's not worth justifying using a different rotation for. Obviously it would have, oh yeah, and some AoEs I use the same setup as single target. I just use Searing Javelin instead of Forgemaster's Flame. What else? Anyway, so on to boons, companions, and mounts. For boons, if you have it, always use crit severity over power when your power is over 100k. It's a percentage damage rather than, it calculates a percentage. I think it does 0.5% more on average. Oh, I'm actually using the wrong thing. Holy shit. Crit severity, not companion ward. I can't believe I was doing that. I don't know how long that was for, but that's why it was hard to beat people in damage in lomm the other day. Let's see. I usually run rusted boots, so when I do, I use incoming healing. Unless I'm playing alone, then I'll use HP. Again, just use what you can if you have it. Balance your HP, your incoming healing, and defense if you've got those two good. A general rule of thumb is aim for 300k HP, because that's roughly what you want for tomm and IC, but aim a little bit higher when you can. PvP doesn't matter, utility hardly matters unless you've got Revive Sickness boon. Campaigns. You want to run all the power boons, and you want to run the movement speed and companion influence, and HP all the way up. Unless you need a little bit of armor pen or a little bit of combat advantage, deflect, awareness, all that stuff. Don't go for deflect and awareness though. But if you're missing some offense stats, you can slot those in boons. But it's probably better to go HP since eventually you'll get those stats. You want to use recharge speed and crit severity, pretty straightforward. And bloodlust as your master boon. Basically it just means when you use an encounter you have a chance at doing some things that help you. What else would I slot? For Infernal Citadel I run Demonic Mastery, so I have 5 loadouts. Tower of the Mad Mage just has a little bit of extra armor pen. Dungeon DPS is something like lomm. What am I missing? Yeah, see in here I run the demon damage. What else? So that's boons. For the most part you just want power and HP, crit severity and recharge speed, and bloodlust. For companions, I run Bullet. Anything that's an augment with power would be great. Bullet's probably one of the better ones because combat advantage you need a lot to cap. Defense, you rarely slot anything with defense, so it's nice to have the extra defense. And power's the main one that you want. Rank 15 bonding runestones, rank 15 empowered if you can. For equipment, it just depends what your stats are, but you'll most likely be running a gold leaf grimoire, so it's best to use your, what's it called? You get a little pack from start off when you've done all the fragments for your first time, and you end up with free 12k gear. That's the one you probably want. I'd use a defense and something, so that you can cap defense for Tower of the Mad Mage. And then I'm using armor pen and crit strike here. I think I used to use something else, but it basically just balances your stats to roughly the same. I'm in a dungeon, but the caps in Infernal Citadel is 85k for armor pen, crit, accuracy, and for combat advantage